started, I have a really special announcement. Today is the first day that you can sign up for my all new 5-day Fire Up Your Facebook challenge. This is a free challenge that you can sign up for, and it's happening November 15th through the 19th. Once you sign up, you will basically be in queue to get a daily challenge every day for 5 days. And one lucky winner is going to win $500. Now, I know that you are probably a little burnt out when it comes to social media with comments and all of that stuff. Let's just not fizzle out. Let's fire up your Facebook page with a fun challenge. And we had such great results. We actually have over 500 schools participate when we did our last challenge in April. And it was amazing to see the results. So don't get left out. And if you did the challenge last time, totally new challenges this time. Okay. We're always dialing into what works, what doesn't, what's going to get you results. We've got 5 new challenges coming your way. So get signed up now at socialschool4edu.com/challenge. That is socialschool4edu.com/challenge. Also linked in the show notes here of how to get signed up. Again, don't get left out. The worst thing that can happen is you're going to learn a whole lot and you're going to get some more followers and get more engagement on your Facebook page. The best thing that could happen is you could win $500, or every day we actually have prizes. So once you get signed up, you're going to get a welcome email. You're going to get invited into a private pop-up Facebook group that will support you throughout the whole challenge. And then we're going to have a whole lot of fun. So I can't wait to have you there. We're expecting about 1,000 schools all over the world to participate, and you should definitely be one of them. So sign up now, socialschool4edu.com/challenge. We'll see you there, and don't miss out on today's episode. This interview with Cindy is amazing, and we're going to talk a little bit about the challenge. So let's get started. Hey there, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to Cindy Dunigan. She is the outreach coordinator for Stafford Technical Center in Vermont, and she has a very unique position with a tech center that serves about 8 to 10 schools. She's really responsible for recruiting in students and doing social media, among some other things as well. But I'm really excited for you to meet her because she's got a unique entryway into doing her job for her school. She has a real passion for what her school does for these career tech students, and the passion that comes alive. And she gets to tell those stories on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You're going to really learn some strategies of getting some stories, not only from students, from parents, and from businesses. She's going to talk you through some of her strategies for planning out content so that she has those stories to share. She really understands her school and her seasons really well. And she's going to talk through some secrets of knowing what she can and can't do, or should or shouldn't do on social media, and being able to promote that and kind of teach that to her leadership team as what social media is good for and maybe what it isn't. And so I'm really excited for you to lean in and get some ideas from Cindy. So let's get started. Hey, before we get started with this week's interview, we're going to talk about this week's K 12 PR tip. We start every episode out with this, and today I want to talk about accessibility when it comes to social media. Now, we just had an amazing presentation from a district in Texas in our membership group on accessibility and the importance of accessibility in regards to closed captioning on your videos with sound, but also alt text or properly describing your images for those people that are visually impaired. Now, the social media platforms actually provide the opportunity to input alt text on both Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They all provide opportunities to really describe what's happening in the photo. Sometimes they automatically will say something that isn't even close to what's actually going on in the photo. But a tip when you're thinking about accessibility and the images you're sharing is just if you can share and help describe what's going on in the photos in the caption itself for the photo, for the post, that can be helpful. And as long as you're helping describe, it should meet most accessibility requirements. But if you're sharing a lot of different images, you can add that alt text. Now, I'm not going to go through step by step in this. Tip on my podcast, but we do have in-depth training on inside of our membership group, because all of the webinars that we do, we record them, and our members have lifetime access to everything we've ever shared. And so if accessibility is on your list of wanting to take it to the next level when it comes to your website and your social media, maybe you should consider joining us inside of our membership group. There's more information in the show notes, but if you just visit socialschoolforedu.com, you can learn more. Now let's get to today's interview with Cindy Dunigan. Welcome to the podcast, Cindy Dunigan. So glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. I know it's a busy, crazy, year, just like I think they all are now.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. Well, why don't you introduce yourselves to our listeners and kind of share how you got into school
It was
communications?
an accident. I didn't mean to do it. So
And now you're
and
here.
now I'm here. So I am Cindy Dunigan. I'm the outreach coordinator for Stafford Technical Center, which is a career tech ed center in central Vermont. We're located in Rutland, Vermont, very close to Killington. Um, we serve 8 to 10 high schools depending on the year. So we serve every high school in our county. In Vermont, career tech eds schools are set up by county. So we are unique in that we are servicing these 8 to 10 high schools. So we have students coming from all of those schools. We recruit 10th graders for their junior and senior year. And in Vermont, that's how Career Tech Ed runs. In some states like Massachusetts, it's a 4-year comprehensive school. And we are basically 2 years, although once all the juniors and seniors who want a spot have one, we can take some 10th graders. So we have a handful of 10th graders every year. My school is considered full at around 274 students. That number fluctuates a little bit. We are trying to grow 2 of our programs and are having trouble hiring more staff. It's hard to get career tech ed staff to leave the industry they're in to come teach because it's generally a pay cut. But we're working
Okay.
on it. And how did I
Okay.
get here? So
Yeah.
I went to college to be an early childhood professional, and I did that for 14 years. I worked with 2-year-olds were my favorite, 2 and 3-year-olds, the terrible twos, loved them. Um, Ended up, I had been laid off from a big ski company here, and I ended up working as a paraeducator or a classroom aide in the high school, and I had never worked with high schoolers before. I thought, well, this will tide me over till I find something else, and that was in 2000. Still here. Um, so I did 16 years as a paraeducator, and a job opened up at our tech center, which is attached to our high school. And they actually called me and said, "Aren't you interested in this job?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe. Yes." And they said, "Well, you should apply. We're going to open up the application window and you apply." And I said, "Okay." And I was busy. I was working my summer job, and I get a phone call like 5 minutes later. "So your interview is going to," I'm like, "I didn't even apply yet." So So I was like, "All right, they really want you, Cindy. Just do it. Just apply." I filled out the application. I had an interview. I was probably a little too self-assured because it turned out there were like 13 other applicants. But I just kind of walked in with this attitude that they called me and asked me to apply, so they wanted me. And what I told them at the interview still holds true. I had worked 16 years at the high school, and I saw all of these students who were marginally successful. They were trying really hard, and they hadn't found that spark. And I would watch them transfer over to the tech center and find their spark and find their joy, and suddenly their grades were soaring, they had a job, they were working, they were polite and respectful, and just this huge change came over them. And then my son applied to the tech center, and he is the quietest, most introverted person. I have all the outgoingness in the family, and he has absolutely none of it. So he was thrilled when I followed him to the tech center the following year. But he came and he blossomed. He absolutely blossomed. He found his people, and so I have this great love for the tech center anyway. So they put me in this role, and what exactly is an outreach coordinator? I wish I knew. So this is what I do. I recruit the 10th graders. I run middle school programming after school when I can, which is challenging. And during the summer, I do summer camps. I also handle all the social media and advertising and swag and giveaways that I use in those things. And I do a lot of community outreach, show up at different events, National Night Out, any place that'll have me, basically, I'll show up.
Okay. Um, I love it. I love how passionate you are for career tech and that's what, got you in there. I know, in some cases, confidence and all of that, it can be like just hard to come by because you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm applying for this job. But they wanted you. I love your attitude. So recruiting, you talk about like some middle school programming and then like some summer things that you do. So obviously that must be to get them exposed to what opportunities that are there.
Yes. So research shows that children, students pretty much make up their mind if career tech ed might be for them around sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So we want to get them in here and get them excited. I do tours during the school year where I kind of do a whirlwind tour. We have 14 different programs. So this morning, for example, I stopped in at culinary and the chef had made me some breakfast. I went down to the cosmetology room and said, "Does my hair look cute enough to be on a YouTube video? Because I want to look good." And tomorrow I'm bringing my son's car in for an oil change. So like there's all this stuff going on. And I like to bring sixth, seventh, and eighth graders who, for them, a classroom is a little more traditional. And we don't have very many traditional classrooms. They're all lab spaces based on the program. So there's a salon, there's a commercial kitchen, there's a garage. So we bring them in, get them excited. And basically, what I hear as they're leaving is, "I'm going to go to Stafford one day. I'm going to go to Stafford." And that's what we want. We want them super excited about that possibility and to keep that in their head as an alternative. So even though
Right.
we're a public school and we are a school of choice, like a magnet school or something, where they have to choose to apply to come here, and then we have to choose to accept them. So there's choice in both directions. And we've been averaging about 400 applications for about 180 spots. Well, no, we'll call it 270 spots because even our second year students have to apply again to be allowed back in. So, like, their whole first
Wow.
year is sort of like, an audition. It's like an interview for their second year, and we don't take back all of our second year students. Um,
Okay.
so we are competitive, and we are still um, dealing with this perceived stigma of career tech ed as being for those kids, like those kids, those kids. And it's just not like that anymore. My son finished here with enough college credits that his university kept telling him he was a sophomore. And I didn't pay for any of those credits. That comes with being in career tech ed. So we are college
Right.
bound, we're career bound, we're apprenticeship bound. There's all of these pathways available to our students.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing and competitive. So that's great that you've got such a good inflow. So I could talk all day about these programs, and a lot of states, Wisconsin, Minnesota doesn't have this program, but there's a lot of states that do. So there's going to be some listeners that can really relate. But how does social media then fit into your role? Like, what are you responsible for?
So we basically are using three social media channels. We're on Facebook, of course. We're on Instagram, although I'm trying to up my Instagram game. It tends to be the one that falls off my radar. And we're on Twitter. And we have three distinct audiences for those channels. But I am responsible for the content, monitoring it. So one Christmas morning, I was dealing with some comments at 6 a.m. It's just part of the job, right? The so social media is like this one tiny part of my job. It's like this little part of my job, and it's this huge elephant in the room, right? Like it looks super easy. Oh, look, she made a post. That was easy. That probably took her 30 seconds. But I also had to go out. I had to get a picture or get someone to send me a picture. And then I have to make sure everyone has their masks on, everyone has their PPE on. Do they have their safety glasses on? Do they need safety glasses? Are they supposed to be wearing gloves? Can you see the customer's license plate on the car because we don't want to show that? All of these things that go into every single photo, and then coming up with the caption and making sure that you're promoting CTE in general and Stafford in particular as a positive choice for a student. So, it's trying to change that perceived stigma, right? So we're putting out all of these positive stories, to change that in the community.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot to think about when you're doing all of that and trying to organize that. How have you really tried to use social media as a recruiting tool? Because I think, all of the people listening, no matter whether you're career tech or, even public schools, frankly, are recruiting because, you want to make sure that it looks like a place that you want to go. But what are some unique things maybe that you've done as far as just trying to really turn it to that recruitment tool?
So we, whew, there's so much we do. So, and it varies by channel. So Instagram is where I'm hitting my students. I want to get that flashy picture in front of them where they're like, wait, I can do that at school? Like that kid's welding, or that kid's, you know, look at that delicious plate of food, or whatever it is. We want to get those images out to students so that they consider the fact that, oh, that might be for me. And a lot of times, what we find our students have the parents' perception of the school. So there's another avenue that we need to address. What is Stafford now? When I present to 10th graders, I go out to all of our partner schools and I do a presentation during recruitment season. And I say to them, how many of you are using a 10-year-old cell phone? Raise your hand. Nobody's using a 10-year-old cell phone. Like there's like maybe a teacher in the back who's like, yeah, me, right? And I say to them, cell phones have changed a lot in 10 years and Stafford has changed a lot. Like that's my message. We're not what your uncle or your grandparents or your parents are telling you. Let me tell you what we are right now today because we've changed. Like everything changes so fast. The students get that. And so we have to kind of clear up, maybe a grandparent or an uncle has said, "Oh, that's where all those kids go who can't make it in real school." It's not that. So we showcase our student success stories. This student has been accepted to this college and is majoring in this, and this student is already working, and this student has finished their first year of the plumbing apprentice program, and this student has their LNA. So we tell it through these vignettes of student success. And just yesterday, I reached out to some parents and I said, will you tell your story, your family story? Why are you so supportive of your child being here? What do you love about it? Why, those kinds of things. So, and will you share a picture with me? So I'll be pulling together this other piece that I think gets left out a lot. Um, Parents have a story to tell too about our schools, and we need to include them in that story. So again, I just started the one of the women I reached out to yesterday, her son has been at summer camp and as an 8th grader and, so I said, "Oh, I know you've been super supportive of Stafford. Will you absolutely send me the questions. I'll answer anything." So,
Oh, that's awesome. And by the time this publishes, because this will publish in early November, that story will probably be up there. But what I love about grabbing those, the student success stories, of course, are great. But these parent stories, you talked a lot about that transformation that happens with these kids.
yes.
That when maybe traditional school, just like this is where they really blossomed and came out of their shell and just became a whole different student or then young adult because of this program. I'm betting that you're going to get a lot of those stories from parents, right?
Yeah. And then we also get them from our business owners. So our second year students get placed in work-based learning or cooperative learning experiences. So we talk to those business owners and say, what's so great about having a Stafford student come in and an internship with you? And so then we have this whole other story to tell too. Like we're supporting the community by putting these trained people and trained students out there. We can talk to our local university, what's so great about having a Stafford student come to your school? So we have all these positive stories to pull together from different areas. And I bet every school does. You may not know what those areas are yet, it might be a coach, it might be a foster grandparent, it might be a business, it might be, whatever. You know your audience best. So you just have to stop and think, I hate to say it, but think outside the box. Who else can tell the story of your school besides your students?
Yeah, that is really powerful. So, you shared that, with your social media wins, you focus on what you're sharing. Can you just like tell me how you plan out a lot of your content? Because there's a lot of different things that you want to share, and sometimes it can, like, everybody feels a little out of control, especially when you are trying to get that perfect picture with the caption, with everybody's masks on properly, and all of that. How have you kind of wrangled that in to be more systematic so that it can remain, a portion of your job, but it doesn't overwhelm your entire position?
Oh, I wish I knew the answer. Um, so as I said, we're using 3 social media channels, and Twitter really reaches the principals of our partner schools, our superintendents of the districts we work with. So I like to really show those student successes and call out those schools, like, "Here's a student from Otter Valley," and I tag the principal, I tag the Otter Valley guidance, like, "We're focusing on your student." And I think that that's helpful for them when students want to apply. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's Stafford. That's a great school. But, students are really successful there." And on Instagram, we're reaching the students, as I said before. I'm trying to. We've tried a few different things. We haven't really found the thing that's working the best yet, so it's trial and error. In Facebook, we're reaching the families. So again, it's a lot of the same content that I might put on Twitter, but I'm looking at the families, and I might even send a message, "Hey, your student was featured," because then that parent will share that post. And as we know, sharing is huge. So when I tag a local business, the local business then says, "Oh yeah, we're going to share that to our page." So if I last week we had 4 sort of recruiters come from our local hospital. They want to work with our electrical and plumbing students. They want to work with our LNA students. They want to work with our culinary students. So they had a focus of students they wanted to kind of talk to about positions available at the hospital. So I take a picture of them in our hallway, post it on social media. you know, I I expect to reach, a couple hundred people, but then the hospital shares it, and everybody follows the hospital. So next thing you know, you're at almost 2,000 people have seen it, and it's been shared multiple times. Um, and I got an email yesterday that said, "Oh, I love all the great things I'm hearing about Stafford." And I'm like, "Yes. You don't even know where you're hearing them. Like, you just know you're hearing good things, and that's what I want. I want it to be just like, oh, everyone's talking about that." So
Yeah.
planning the social media is it's sort of seasonal. We're just going into recruiting season. So coming up, I'm going to make sure that I feature each of our 14 programs. And when you think about it that way, that's a lot of days if you do one a day, or if you don't want to overwhelm people. So I might do 2 different posts that focus on one program. I want to make sure everyone gets equal time of the 14 programs that we have. So during recruiting, it's a lot of call to action. It's time to apply. Look for us at your school. I'm going to be coming to visit you. Make sure, that kind of thing. And then they come to visit us, um, and see, can they see themselves in our school, in this environment? And that's kind of where my part of recruiting slows down briefly. All the applications come in, and then we schedule interviews for all of those students, which is falls on my desk. And I get super busy with that. And it's hard to that's where I like to have like backup content ready to go, like what's going on quickly. Then we enter into Skills USA. Our students compete at the state level, and hopefully, knock on wood, they'll make it to national levels and they compete in those. So we want to promote that as these positive opportunities for students while application season is still open. Look at this cool thing that's going on. And before you know it, it's April, and I'm looking at recruiting for summer programs, and then promoting those summer programs during the summer, sliding right into, I have 8th, sometimes ninth graders in my summer program. So technically, some of those ninth graders can apply for their sophomore year. They might not get in, but they might. And I want them thinking about that. I want them planning their freshman and sophomore year to get their electives out of the way so that when they come to Stafford, they can spend as much time as possible in their program area.
Yeah. So it just sounds like you really understand the seasons that you're in throughout your school year. So all the listeners probably have some of those same seasons that are throughout their school year. And then being able to know when you're really busy with stuff, having some backup. You obviously schedule some things out in advance. I know you do throwback Thursdays
Yep.
and, some of those things that help fill
And
in.
it's important too to weed out the things that you can't do. So like I said, we work with 8 to 10 partner schools. I can't stay on top of every partner school's football games or soccer games or wrestling or basketball. I don't do sports. We don't have sports teams here. Our students are allowed and encouraged to stay active in sports or the arts, theater, drama, music, band, anything that they're doing with their partner school. But I can't take that on. It's too much. I can't because if I do one and I miss someone, then it just starts this big snowball. So being really clear about what you can't take on. If you already have someone who's handling sports, don't take that on. Let someone else handle that or assign it to someone. You can't do everything. Like I'm a one person thing and I have like 4 jobs. So
Right.
knowing what you can and can't handle. We actually have multiple Facebook channels. Some of our programs have their own. The culinary arts program has its own Facebook. The salon has its own Facebook, and our forestry program has its own Facebook. And it's like, great, you can have a Facebook, but I can't do it for you.
Right. Yeah, that's really good advice, Cindy. Sometimes it's not just what you can do, it's what you shouldn't do or what you're not going to do, because then it allows you to focus on really what's important. A lot of times we get scattered.
And
And I love, that you're talking about even trying to take Instagram, sometimes that one gets left off, but that's a great spot to connect with students. And Instagram is something that we've been working a lot on our in our membership group, and I've been playing around with Instagram Reels a little bit. I'm excited with what I'm learning there. But Cindy, you are part of our Social School for EDU membership group. So, what what is that program done for you, and why did you decide to get involved?
I first came across you in a newsletter from somebody else, and I clicked through, and I was like, what is this? What's here? Oh, wow! Look at that! Oh, I want that. Where? Oh, I'm going to print that." And next thing you know, I had all these papers on my desk that were all Social School for EDU, and I was like, then I don't know. Somehow I don't remember exactly, but I saw the invitation. I don't even consider it an advertisement. It was an invitation to do the webinar pass. And I went down to my boss and I said, "Look, I need PD for me. I don't need PD about grading and, all of this other stuff that we're doing district wide. This is what I need to do my job." And she said, "Yeah, fine, whatever." Which I realize I'm very, very lucky. Um, so I did the webinar pass, which I is not a thing anymore, I believe. But
Right. It's
you
all in the
again, I was
yep.
invited to kind of transform my webinar pass into this full membership of being in this group. And I thought to myself, and if any of you are debating the cost, look at all this great stuff she gives you for free. Well, yeah, look at all the great stuff you're going to get if you're paid, because it's even better. There are things on my desk every single day that I got from Andrea that um, there's a 3-week planning calendar for social media, and I think I've emailed you because I lost it at one point, I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was having, like, a panic attack, that I use constantly. I have a whole folder from last year. I use that 3-week planning calendar all the time. It helps me keep track of what programs I've featured, which social media I featured them on, how recently did I feature them, was it a faculty feature? Was it a student feature? Was it an alumni feature? What did I do? When did I do it? Who needs to come up again? Um, so that has been great. It's been great. One of the things very recently that came out as we're recording this, maybe not so much when people are listening, but um, somewhere in the Facebook group, somebody said something, and it might have been you, it might have been Melissa. Somebody said, all of your positive stuff should be here on Facebook, and factual stuff, you should drive people to the website. Like, go make them look for the facts on your website, not in this social platform where everyone is seeing it. And I mentioned that to my director, and I said, because she kept sending me things, post this, post this, post this. And I went down, I said, I can't post everything. And I have things planned, and I can't just drop something else into the schedule always. Like, something super important, absolutely. But there is a method to my madness. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link back to the Facebook, back to our web page on Facebook. It's going to say, if you want more information about this, look on our website. And she immediately saw the benefit to that. So now she'll send me an email and say, put this on the website and mention it on Facebook when you get a chance. So she
Yeah.
understands, and she sees the value of me being in this and what I've learned to really focus what I'm sharing. Because when I started, I shared everything. Everything that people sent to me, I would put it on Facebook willy-nilly with no plan. And I look back and it's a little cringy, right? Oh, there's no school tomorrow. Oh, there's this. Oh, this. Don't forget to hand in this paper. Like, that did not belong on Facebook. Like, it just
Right.
didn't. Um, but hey, Director Connor has a message for our families. Click on this, click on over to the website to see it. If I'm not a family member, I'm going to skip that. But if I'm trying to post the whole letter on Facebook, people are just going to get in the habit of scrolling past me. And I don't want that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's been so helpful, and yeah, I never know how we quite get connected with folks, but I sure am glad that somebody shared that newsletter all those years ago. And of course, we've got a lot of great trainings coming up. We've got a unique training on LinkedIn. We're going to be talking about how to use that. That may be a potential for you guys in regards to some of your business partnerships and things. And we've been doing a lot of training, obviously, on the changing Facebook and Instagram things. So if you're interested, and Cindy obviously, kind of came on slowly, but we're always open for members. And we've got really exciting news because we're going to be opening up our next Fire Up Your Facebook challenge, Cindy.
That was
So
so
it's
much
it's
fun, and I learned so much from the last one. And I might have missed one of the challenges, but it was j just like the inviting people to like. I'm at the point now where when I click on who liked this post, I don't have anybody left to invite. Like, they've been invited or they've liked my page. And that was huge because I just something I didn't think of. It was like one more click, one more something to look at, and just you lose track of it. So those reminders are
right.
fabulous.
Yes. So I'm going to invite everybody to participate in that challenge. And out of that challenge, there will be a special invite into the membership group. So if you've been on the fence, get involved in that challenge, see the results that you're going to see because it's going to be phenomenal. It's the week before Thanksgiving. And so we're going to be bringing it's a 5-day free challenge. And one lucky school wins $500. So, you can be incentivized even by that. And then we give away swag and stuff too. But that's great. Thanks for sharing your experience, Cindy. Now I know we've talked about a lot, and maybe we've covered most of your stuff. But if you wanted to share like your best social media tip with the listeners, what would that one tip be?
I think the best thing to do is really look at when your people are online. You can find that in your Facebook Insights. When are they online? And time your posts so that they're showing up when they're going to see them. And think about yourself. What do you want to see? What catches your interest, and plan your posts to be eye-catching. Don't use the bad photo. Go take another one. Um, And sometimes that's just like one more thing you have to do, but it's you're using your phone. Take a couple, crop them, use a filter, make them look good, so that it does catch someone's eye, and keep it to the happy, keep it to the positive stuff, and keep that factual, that housekeeping stuff, keep that on your website. Um, and what you do is you train your families that when they're looking for solid information, they're going to look on the website. That should be where your bus schedule and your lunch schedule and your this and your that and how to all of that should be there and just celebrate on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, really good advice. Now, if people want to stay connected with you, Cindy, what would be the best way to do
You should
that?
come to Vermont and visit, and I'll take you through my school. It takes about 90 minutes for me to give you the whirlwind tour. But if you don't have that in your budget and you can't just come to Vermont, um, email is a great way to reach me. Do you want me to?
I can share it in the show notes, but if you want to just share it
So
quick, that'd
it's
be fine.
cindy.dunnigan at RCPSVT, which stands for Rutland City Public Schools, Vermont. Um, that's a great way to reach me.
.org.
.org, and follow me on Facebook. Follow my school, follow me, find me, um, reach out to me. I kind of feel like this is a case of imposter syndrome. I feel like Andrea is the like the knowledgeable one, and I'm just tagging along on her coattails. Like I owe a lot of what I'm doing to her and her business. So, but I'm happy to share the unique challenges and joys of working in career tech ed. If you ever get a chance to visit your local career tech school, definitely do it. The students, they're thrilled to be there. Like in most places, kids have to apply, they have to be accepted. And so they really want it. So they're really happy to be where they're at.
Yeah, and that makes your job even more fun, being able to celebrate them. Yeah, we'll make sure to link your social media channels in the show notes, and so you guys can check those out there and hit the follow button so that you can see all of the great stories that Cindy's sharing. I really like your unique ways of highlighting your student success stories and parent stories and businesses and tagging pages, and you gave a lot of really helpful tips that are going to help our listeners. So, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you want to hang out with Cindy even more, you join the membership. You'll get to see her even a little bit more. But thanks for listening and thanks for joining us, Cindy. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye.